Hello and welcome back to Real Estate Made Simple. My name is Rick Bosley, the owner and leader of the Bosley team at Keller Williams in Orlando, Florida. And 3L Coaching, we're back to you with some more Keller Williams University inspired curriculum from Lead Generation 36123. Last episode, if you heard it, we are all into prospecting, which is the basis for what we do for our lead generation. The next two episodes, we're going to break down in the supportive role of lead generation, and that's marketing. We're going to get into the systems, the strategies, the branding, the unique selling propositions, the call to actions to make sure your business is attracting the kind of customers you want to attract. Thanks for being here. Stay tuned. Okay, and welcome back again. My name is Rick Bosley, and if you like what you hear, do me a favor and go ahead and click that subscription button. We drop new episodes every Thursday. And if you have any more specific questions, make sure you reach out to us. All of my contact information is below. As we continue our journey here today on 36123 lead generation, we're going to go into the marketing. Now, we've always said that when you're in growth mode, you want to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. So the last episode was all about the prospecting and conversations, what we call KPIs. Today is going to be about the marketing, and it is extremely important. And it's kind of like baking a cake, which we'll give an example of later. So while we're here, we want you to take your business on and be a relentless marketer. Relentless. Now, when you think about what does relentless mean to you, it's going all in. You're doubling down. You're tripling down. We just had our Keller Williams annual conference, and that's what we heard over and over again from top performers is now we've got to double down. If you used to do 2 hours of lead generation, do 4. If you used to do a farm of once a quarter, do it once a month. We've got to really be relentless right now in the market that is shifting. And I'm speaking specifically to the real estate agents right now, yet I imagine it's pretty industry-wide, especially if you're a mortgage officer or title or insurance, then of course you're impacted by the same decrease of sales that the realtor is. And if that's there, then you have less people needing to rehab or refurnish or remodel their homes. So I imagine the handyman, the painting is down. So overall, when the economy is suffering, so are the trades around housing. So you want to take a look of we've got to be able to get more with less and get our unfair share. So as we think about the relentless marketer, I want to read with you just a scene from David Mamet's movie, Glengarry Glen Ross. If you've seen it, then you know. 4 agents worked for a troubled real estate company based out of Chicago in the 1980s. One night, the company delivers a challenge. The agents have to get as many sales as possible in one night, yet they have to use the company's old, tired, quote-unquote, dead set of leads. He said the person who gets the most highest sales in the next 24 hours, you get a Cadillac. Second place, you get a set of steak knives. Everyone else, you're fired. That's an epic scene that we see. It's terrific films. We're not going to spoil what happens. However, we would like to underscore the important moral of the story. Something that we really firmly believe in here. It's he who owns the leads, owns the business. We've always said if you don't have enough leads, you don't have a business. We are in 2 businesses. First is lead generation. Then it's whatever we get paid and compensated for. Mamet's agents are victims because they wait for the company to give them leads. They're passive and reactive instead of doing their own prospecting and own marketing. So I'm challenging you right now as you look at your business, go get that Cadillac. Don't even settle for steak knives. Go get that Cadillac, double down, triple down. We've got to go all in and be relentless because people out there are just waiting to hear from you with a unique selling or unique value proposition. Now, we said marketing for lead generation. Lead generation is like, well, let's take anything you bake, a loaf of bread, right? You've got your contacts, and that's your certain amount of people. Who are we marketing to? That's our audience. Then we say prospecting is how we're going to do it. You've got marketing is going to be how are we going to supplement that prospecting? What is the message? And the message is going to be something that's useful and needed, stuff that's going to make an impact and differentiate you from the rest of the competition. Now, the habit, that's the applied heat. Can you imagine putting everything in a bowl for a cake and then just sitting there and waiting? You've got all the ingredients necessary, but you don't put it in the oven, or you put it in the oven, but you only put it at 200 degrees, not at 400 degrees. Or you only put it in for 10 minutes, not for 40 minutes. It's not going to be a very good cake or not a very good loaf of bread. So I want you to think about what's missing in your cake. If your business isn't where you need it to be, is it because you don't have enough people? Because your prospecting is not enough? Because your marketing is not enough? Or maybe your habits is not enough? So I want you to look at that. And let's always improve that. The best chefs and the best bakers in the world, I imagine they're always making adjustments, right? I envision right now someone over a big bowl of soup and they're going to taste it like, I need more salt. I need more of this. I need more pepper, a little more spice. Make those adjustments that work for you, and the ingredients will always change. So what's marketing? Marketing is the more passive form of lead generation. It attracts business. It doesn't find business. We talked about this, the hunters and the gatherers before, right? Now you are looking to attract people, and they're gonna see your website or get your flyer, and then we're gonna prospect around that. But it's more of the attractive. Some disadvantage around marketing is it can be expensive. It can be expensive, especially if you have a weak follow-up system around your marketing. It's less personable, therefore less memorable. It doesn't have that personalized experience like a phone call or a text or handwritten note. Remember last episode, we talked about the 7 levels pyramid. This is the bottom of the pyramid, the advertising, the direct mails, the mass email. The advantages of marketing is it can be very efficient use of time. You can create one item of content and distribute it to hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands, or depending where you do it, millions, right? So you can reach a larger audience with the same brand and same message. So a truth about marketing is the role of marketing during your growth phase is to supplement the prospecting. Remember I said growth phase. They're both extremely important, yet if in shift, we talk about which we are in a shift. We are in a recession. Technically, an economic recession is 2 back-to-back quarters that had a lower GDP, gross domestic product there. So it had a lower GDP 2 quarters in a row. We're in a recession. Doesn't feel like it because we're recovering for what we saw was just insane inflation. Yet here we are in growth mode, taking market share. So your prospecting base, marketing enhance. And what are the benefits of it? It kind of gives us a reason to make the call. A lot of people tell me they don't want to prospect because they don't know what to say. Well, if you give a nice marketing piece or a flyer or information or a CMA or a postcard, then when you're out there door knocking or calling, you can say, hey, did you get this piece of marketing? Do you have any questions? Let's talk about this. When you're there, they might tag it up on their refrigerator, or they might, save it in their drawer of safekeepings, and that helps you get mind share. Now, we're going to talk about this later, the consistency, because one impression usually doesn't do it. Sometimes right person, right place, it will. More often, it's over time you're going to be getting that information there. We know it's a numbers game. We talk about the 12 direct, and we use this a lot with farms. When I say direct, I'm talking direct mail, good old-fashioned postcard, right, or a letter. And it's a direct mail once a month. The best company that I can think about, or one of the highest companies, is Bed Bath & Beyond. If you know, you know, because you're within their 5-mile radius of one of their big box stores. And like clockwork, every month, they give you this oversized jumbo card that says 20% off. They have an expiration date because they created urgency to it, so that's a call to action. Come use this. If you ever pay retail for Bed Bath & Beyond, it just seems silly because there's enough of those 20% coupons floating everywhere, and that's a 12 direct, and they do it every time like clockwork. So are you acting like Bed Bath & Beyond? Your target market, your farm, whether it's demographic, geographic, psychographic, do they know that clockwork they're going to get your newsletter or your market update? That's where we want to do it. We're going to sharpen those skills, and then we prospect to accompany that, to support that, so we can enhance it there. So let's talk about some myths around marketing for lead generation. Myth number 1, I only need to prospect or market. I can do one or the other. Well, that's a pretty lousy cake. We've talked about this. I don't need to beat the dead horse. Successful lead generations know the combination of the two make for the best lead conversion. So we do have to have marketing and prospecting around it. Myth number 2, the purpose of prospecting is to get appointments. Well, ultimately, yes, but why stop there? If it's just to get appointments, yet none of them convert to contracts or closings, that's really not the point either. So the appointments is what I call the pinnacle of our key performance indicators. And when we look at it, there's 3 or 4 things we measure that takes a lot of effort. And that's conversations, that's pipeline nurtures, and that appointment set, appointment held. That's the high effort. After we hold the appointment, then we get into high skill set, which is agreements with clients, under contract, and closings. So the point of it is to build a database, convert the database, increase your brand and your mind share, because mind share incorporates to market share. So that's the truth. It's to get appointments and to increase your database. When I share this with agents, a perspective is oftentimes if you're only going for appointments, it's kind of like playing baseball, but only swinging for home runs. You know what? And sometimes if you always swing for the fences, you're going to get one and it's going to fly. But if you're always swinging for the fences, there's a good chance you're going to have a lot of strikeouts. So instead, let's swing for the fences, but be okay with the triple, the double, the single. And if we learn anything from Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill's Moneyball, it's just getting on base gives you an opportunity to score runs. And if you score runs, you win the game. So we want to be prepared that if we don't get the appointment, we can still get the contact added and have a great follow-up plan full of value. Myth number 3, any marketing I do builds mind share. That might be right if you do it consistently. If you don't market repeatedly and consistently, some might argue you're throwing your money away. So where does this show up in real estate? And I've fallen prey to this. It's just listed or just sold postcards. We sell a house and we say, hey, we just sold this. But if that's the only piece of marketing I've done, and I didn't have a strong sign presence, I didn't do an open house, I didn't do any door knocking, or I didn't do any circle prospecting, and that's one of 2 touches, I would bet or argue to say you might be better off incorporating that money and energy elsewhere. So we want to be consistent with it. Mind share comes over time. So we want to be consistent with that marketing. So as we're doing it, we're defining your brand, and you want to know the difference between branding yourself and marketing. And I've got just a real easy way that we think about branding and marketing. It's a call to action. If your marketing piece doesn't have a call to action, then you actually don't want them to do anything with it. It's a branding piece. And branding pieces are okay at times. Yet more times than not, I want you to think about, how can I turn this branding piece into a marketing piece? Call me now, free CMA, join my Facebook group, give me a Google review, message me for more information, click here to see the home. If you want a list of free foreclosed homes or lakefront homes, all these things are calls to action. That's marketing. Because remember, if we send this piece out or this flyer or this radio ad, we want them to do something on the other end. We want them to respond so we can attract, so we can convert. If they see it, they're like, oh, what a cute puppy, right? Cute puppies are great for branding. They might associate you with cute puppies, but it's not a call to action there. It's just branding. So be careful when you're sending out quote unquote marketing pieces. You're not sending out just branding pieces. When you're doing there, we want to look at your useful and needed, your unique selling proposition, your unique value proposition. You need help with that, go back 2 or 3 episodes. We talk about that, building your validity and what makes you unique. Go back and do that so people can associate you with something unique that separates and differentiates you from the rest. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just something that you have to do. Again, this conference we just left in Anaheim, California. Another common theme, choose 1 to 3 sources. Stay in your lane, go all in. If you have 8 different sources of business, you're probably not doing any of them well enough to have a niche created. You're all over the place and you don't have enough consistency to it. It's kind of like you're baking a cake and a pie and stovetop, and you're over here and you're gardening, and all of a sudden you don't have any good tasting food because you're spread too thin throughout the kitchen. So your USP, your style, and your brand, then we have to associate who's going to get this message. Who is your target audience? We want to know who's the target audience to find in that brand. So when we're going out there, we've got to say, are we talking to buyers? Or are we talking to sellers? Are we talking to first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, move-down buyers, investor buyers? Are we talking to sellers? Is this FSBOs, expireds, pre-foreclosures? Is it relocation? Is this military? You can see how many different messages can be catered or different to different audience. So you have to know, who am I talking to, so it doesn't become generic, it becomes very specific. Go deep, and you'll be able to penetrate more because you're speaking to them. If you're in a farm, let's talk about market stats of that neighborhood, of that specific area, because it really speaks to them. So when we think about marketing, there's 6 methods that we're going to go and review real quick. One is get involved with your community. We're going to talk about some ways to do that. Second is through media conglomerate, whether it's social media, radio, TV, newspaper, right? Mail outs. These could be letters, handwritten notes, direct mails, postcards, any kind of mail out you'd like. Signs, right? And the signs, hopefully everyone who gets a listing, you have a real estate sign out there, and you can do additional signs. Automated marketing, which is going to be more of the smart plans, or maybe some direct mail as well. And then, of course, this thing called the internet, right? And internet could be social media, and it also goes to sponsoring Google ads or your Yelp page, or different ways in which you can attract people through the internet, retargeting and geo-tracking. And so when they click on your website, all of a sudden you follow them to other aspects, or when they're searching on Facebook, there's your ad in the corner. So many different ways to market. And the point of that, what I love about the tracking is it gets that consistency without happening. The cookie gets attached to their IP address, and then the cookie says, hey, they were on the Bosley team's website, and we're going to just keep doing that. And we pay to be there, Yet it's nice because we're paying in upon someone who already saw us and hopefully is starting to recognize us, and we're attracting them to a call to action. So the highest return of real estate marketing is argued to be mail out. Now, this data might be a little bit different for you depending where you are, yet I believe there's a certain aspect for it. In fact, we've got some right here. If you're watching, you can see this mail out that we did recently. That's just a postcard to our sphere of influence. It's a postcard to our neighborhoods. We have 2 different neighborhoods. It gives some market stats. It gives a memorable, fun picture that we have on there. A call to action is what is your home worth. A call to action is join our Facebook page. So it's got some branding. It's got some information. It's got some call to action if we have events. And like clockwork, they're going to get this just like Bed Bath Beyond once a month. They're going to see it. And if there's a real estate related need, hopefully we have enough mind share that they'll think and they will talk to us. When we look at what that could be, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book tells us about 1 in 50 will respond to direct mail, the 12 direct. Now that's pretty good. We're sitting at about 600 every month. If we get 1 in 50, then do we have, 6 closings sitting right there, right? So if we can get 6 closings from this farm, then that would show true. And so far, in the 2 months, we've had 2 calls and listings going live this Friday. We've got another one coming up that just responded of this summer. So far, we're seeing those results come through, yet it doesn't happen month 1. It actually happened months 4 and 5. So we're seeing it build up. The cake is done. Now we're starting to see some of that conversion. So I want you to think about, if you're going to market, what's your message? Does it stand out? Does it identify who you are? Does it identify your brand? Is it useful, needed? What's your call to action? Signs. How your signs look, right? One thing we know about realtors is they love seeing their face on things. And it's funny, it's one of the only industries, maybe attorneys as well. Attorneys love seeing their face on things, and so do realtors. And really, no other industry does. So if your face is your brand, I think it's a great idea to put your face on there as your brand. If your logo is your brand, however, and it's not your face, then consider removing your face and adding your logo. If you aspire to have a team and you eventually don't want to be the face of the company, yet your face is everywhere, then you're kind of attaching yourself to a brand. A lot of teams have gone to, even removing the name, or they're getting a mascot that we have a different company. Ray Kroc isn't the name of McDonald's. Ronald McDonald's the name of McDonald's. They had a mascot for it. So you got to look at what are your signs going to be like. And here's what I know. This is just a personal bias. When you're looking at a sign, you've got 2 or 3 things you want them to see. Is this house for sale? Who's listing it? What's the phone number? And so those are the 3 things. Well, yes, we have to be compliant with state regulations and everything else. So your broker has to be on there. So that's who's listing it. Yeah, those are the things. So if you have so many things in your marketing that gets too busy, then I would consider declutter it so you really get your message out. In fact, it's a good test you can do. I call it the 5-second rule. If you've got a flyer, or if you've got a newsletter, or if you've got a sign, go give it to someone who's not in the industry, who hasn't looked at it, and say, hey, can you do me a favor? I want you to look at this just for 5 seconds, and that's the only instruction you give them. And you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take it away. Then you say, what stood out to you? What was memorable? Hopefully the thing you wanted them to do. Hopefully your name, hopefully your phone number stood out. Because if it's too busy and they doesn't pass the 5-second rule, then we've got just too much chaos and you're probably not making an impression there. So we want to look at the signs or that marketing and make sure the material's there. Now, some automated marketing, predominantly we see this in text, we see it in emails. You can reach a large audience. It's extremely cheap. However, it's extremely easy to ignore as well. Google and the other email servers are doing a good job tracking it for us. When we see in our phones, it says maybe spam, right? So they're on to us, which is why I'm a big proponent of prospecting here for this. And if we just rely on this automation stuff, we are just going to spam. I think it's nice to complement the phone calls, yet don't go away from the personalized phone calls, personalized text. We need to make sure we pertain it to the certain audience. We have automated texts. And it goes out when we're trying to send information. If you recall that 7 levels triangle, right? And we have text as part of the influential zone, but that's a personalized or video text. The mass texts are more of an FYI. Save the date, see you tomorrow. Don't forget, or follow this page. And it's just sending some blast out for some information, not to create that relationship and not to convert them in. So the conversion, I believe, still happens with that prospecting and with that face-to-face customized conversation. We want to update the content, make sure it's relevant, make sure it's fresh. If you do subscribe to a third party, there's a lot of companies that will help do marketing for you. Be careful. Where we're taking this, we're in Florida. And in Florida, very, very, very few homes have a basement. If you do, you are underwater. So I got a postcard about 6 months ago from an agent, and on the back of it, it said tips to make great space of your basement. And I'm sure that's great relevance for a lot of people up north. It wasn't for me. And right there, it became almost, the information was incorrect. So be careful if you have a nationwide program that's supporting it, that it's still relevant to you. We don't want to talk about winterizing your home in Florida. So make sure that the marketing is catered towards your audience, so it's for them. Now we have the internet. I don't know the stats, but I'm doing it right now. We're creating content, and how many videos every day are posted, and how many blogs are posted, and social media is posted, and content is just this constant battle, and we are constantly in this threshold to get people's attention and their eyeballs there. So we want to say, where are you attracting them to? You've got to have a website. We don't have to have a website. It's a good idea to have a website, especially if you're working with strangers who don't know who you are. There's a good chance they're going to Google you. So if you haven't done this already, Google your name, Google your business, and see what shows up if someone were to Google you. Hey, I've got a friend, Rick Bosley. Check him out. Well, they're going to check me out. There's a good chance they're going to Google me. So go ahead and Google yourself, find out what happens, and see how you can increase your awareness of your page. If the first thing on there is Facebook, and you go to your Facebook profile and it's cut to private, or if it has some pictures that don't portray you in the light that you would need to be portrayed in, I'd consider updating that online presence. We've got to look at the online presence, know you're being Googled, get a Google website, get a Google page, Google My Business, and you go through the steps so you can be on the Google Maps, work on getting your testimonies and your reviews. These are ways for your online presence. I believe your website now or your online presence is your resume. They're going to Google you. They're going to find you on social media. So go ahead and make sure that's where it needs to be. Innovations for it can give you some cheap marketing opportunities. Again, automation. We hear AI is coming, so everything's going to be automated, from chat bots. There we go. Chat bots being out there, and sometimes we think we're talking to a real human, but we're not. Have you ever gotten that call and you hear someone, they sound like a real human, and you respond and you realize that's artificial intelligence talking to us? So we have to know that we are up against these companies who are doing this, yet we're looking to build a personalized relational business. That's where I really still will insist marketing is going to be the support, prospecting is going to be the basis for it. If you are having website content, what are you asking me to do? Are you telling your story, giving your testimonies, links to your social media, IDX, or the Internet Data Exchange? People like to look at houses. Are they going to your website to look houses, or are they going to other websites to look at houses? There's amazing websites out there. Zillow is an amazing site. I have it on my phone. I use it. It's very user-friendly. So we have to be able to portray, why would a consumer go to my website over Zillow, right? Does it have the same accuracy, the same speed, the same fluid? And if it doesn't, then we're actually doing them a disservice. So have a good site that competes, or be able to portray what is the pros and cons of using Zillow. So here's what I share for that. What website do you use? Zillow. And I celebrate that. Fantastic. It's a great website. And my mother still sends me houses from Zillow. Hi, Mom. And when we do this, let's say, so here's the point of Zillow, though. It's not built for accuracy. It's built for lead capture. May I explain? Zillow makes their revenue by you clicking a button that says, I want to talk to an agent. They take your information, then sell it to a number of agents, and one of those agents now has you in their database. So as soon as you click on it, they've taken your information. That's a commodity. They've sold it to another agent, and then your information has been sold. Most people don't like that. So when I share it with them, I say, now, if you go to my site, you'll get the same search, the same capabilities. Your information's private and protected, and only I will see what's happening. Does this sound like a value to you? There's a value proposition to the website, as long as I have a website that will be featured. So there we go. There's some ideas around the internet. Remember, we want to have content that the public wants. If you're getting information that is not relevant, not useful, or not needed, they're going to unsubscribe, so be careful. Definition of compensation: something we get for something we give. Something we get for something we give. If I'm at a festival or farmer's market, I'm going to get your information, and they will have a chance, and I will give them a raffle ticket, right? If I want to sign up my very first credit card, I did it at Bass Pro Shop for a t-shirt and a hat. Can you believe that? 18 years old, said, I want the t-shirt and the hat. So I gave them my information to get a first credit card. It was a compensation give to get. When we do a service, we paint a house, we cut a lawn, we sell a house, we represent somebody, that's when we get compensated. So we have to always come from contribution, find out what do they need and how can we solve their problem. And sometimes the problem is right in front of them, and sometimes they don't even know it exists, and you're going to help them solve it through getting clarity, asking deep questions, through a great needs analysis. So we have to make sure that all of the information is there, it's useful and needed, and if they want to go out and discover it, how friendly are your sites to find the content? How relatable is it? Can they go through the site and find exactly what they want, or are you putting them on a scavenger hunt? So that's going to be your branding there. All right, so in conclusion, we want to think about this. We've already talked about it, and I've got to keep talking about it again so you remember what it is. You're baking that cake. The audience is the main ingredients. It's the flour. The prospecting and marketing is how you're going to deliver that message. The message is unique to this person. We're going to finish this episode of marketing. I want you to think about as your takeaways today of what does your message say? How are you delivering it? Through our 3L coaching, we say that every source is going to have 6 touches, and it's going to be through those triangles, the 7 levels of communication: direct mail, email, phone calls, text, events, one-on-ones. These are the way that we're going to deliver our message. Marketing is a way to deliver the message. So as prospecting, be clear, concise, consistent, be memorable, useful, specific, and needed. As we continue on, the next episode we're going to talk about is going to conclude the marketing aspect of 36-12-3. It's going to be really more specific for realtors, kind of, right? And I say kind of, is we're going to talk about how do we market around our listing. In the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they tell us that every listing should generate at least 2 more transactions, 1 listing, 1 buyer. And I'll tell you, a lot of times that's the case when you properly market, prospect, and lead generate around it. So how could this be applicable if you're not in real estate? Well, I see this a lot with pools, with roofers. When they're up there doing a pool, they're there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. What do you see right in front? You see a listing panel. And if the listing panel is there and they're doing nothing else, they're missing the boat. So how can we accompany it? So if you're doing business and you're an electrician, you've got your car parked in front, what are you doing every time you do a job? So we're going to think about this. If you're not in real estate, I want you to listen to it, because there's things that you're doing when you have a customer, especially a happy customer. How can we parlay that into more happy customers? So we're going to talk about how to market around listings, and then also the systematic plan. I just got back from the airport, and my vision is my luggage, and I give it to the clerk at Southwest, and they put in this conveyor belt behind them. And then lo and behold, I have a layover in Phoenix, and then I go over to LA. And I show up and there's my bag. Yet it went through probably 5 or 6 different hands, 5 or 6 different conveyor belts to get to the final destination. We're going to talk about that marketing plan for you to get your clients to the final destination, to the finish line, and then we repeat rinse that. So hopefully you liked what you heard today, and hopefully some things here helped you as you think about your marketing strategies. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out. You can leave a comment below, or all of my contact information is there. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.